Hi and welcome back. I'm Sarah Evans, the host of Into the Blue Channeling, and this is my Sunday coffee chat moment or spiritual meanderings. S is for Sarah, S is for spirit. And today's session, I wanted to visit or revisit or explore the concept of your spirit team, your loved ones in spirit, and spirit guides. And I think actually this might be multiple videos that are needed. I think for this video, we will predominantly focus on your loved ones in spirit. And yes, so in a previous episode, I discussed your higher self, your Atman, but you have a vast spiritual team. And through my Akashic Records readings, I work very closely with people to access these loved ones in spirit and spirit guides. But they want you to know that you can access them. You don't need someone like me, although, of course, I'm happy to help and I can help to deepen the connection or reinforce the connection. But your spirit team wants you to know that they are here, they are paying attention to you, and they wish to help. Okay. Actually, something that I mentioned in the Atman conversation about asking for help and asking for yes, no questions and things like that. I think I forgot to mention that through all of this, you have free will. Okay. And actually, your spirit team will assist and can assist. And it's your free will how much you wish to ask for help or for guidance, right? And at the same time, you can ask for guidance. And if the response you receive, you're like, not sure about that answer, you don't have to do it. You have all the power. This is your lifetime, your experience. So I just wanted to reinforce that you can ask yes, no questions, you can ask for guidance. And, I have done this too, that I've received a no to something and I've been like a bit, well, like, I think I'm just going to do it anyway because I want to. Even if it's not for my highest good or yada yada, something, there's a reason down the line not to. I'm going to do it anyway, right? Because you have the agency and you have the power. So, also in my private coffee chat, I talked about my best friend from high school, Leah. And I wanted to revisit talking about her, and I think I'm just going to tell a couple of stories about my loved ones in spirit, and by all means you can, take what resonates and leave the rest. But I'm sure that by talking about things that you will, it will, click something in your head and you will be like, oh yeah, or whatever. Because Leah was a dear friend, is a dear friend. I have a weird time with, is it past tense or present tense? Because believe me, she feels very present tense to me still, even though she passed when we were both 22. But in the coffee chat, in the private coffee chat, I mentioned about her passing, and actually, she wants to talk. She wants me to tell you about who she is, and how spirit don't like to be remembered or to keep harping back on how they passed. Okay. I mean, in a reading, they might come through and be like, oh, and they're like, oh, is it something throat related? They're telling me that they died of throat cancer or something. And they do this for you to be like, oh, yes, that's definitely him, or to reinforce the connection. But they don't really enjoy being remembered for the way that they passed, particularly if it was tragic and like horrible, right? Because unless they died, like if unless it was a newborn baby who sadly passed, everybody has had experiences in the physical, and their lives mean something, right? And you can remember, you can connect to their memories of them, and that can strengthen the connection. So, I just want to mention a little bit about my friend Leah because she is an awesome person. And, when she did pass at 22, and I was very traumatized by it, and connecting to like feeling that like why did this happen? It just seemed so unjust and so terrible and stuff like that. But now I am more engaged in the why as a positive thing because obviously she's here helping me to do this work, right? And I think I could have awakened more at that moment, but I didn't really. But eventually I did, and now she is through, coming through for me. But Leah, she's an artist. She was incredibly brilliant at art. In fact, at school, I would often find her at lunch break, actually in the art classroom, just working on her oil paintings. She did this amazing oil painting of like a replica of Van Gogh Starry Night. And she did that when she was like 16, and it was like the same. It was like perfect. She was, in the physical, she was very, very talented. And she was alternative. I'm still having a hard time about the tense, but in the physical, it was, the rivers is to here right now in front of me. But she's very alternative. She used to dye her hair purple, and she wore. I think she doesn't like this term, but I think the term is emo. She was very emo with the black and the tartan and the purple hair and the studs and tattoos. Oh, she had the best tattoo on her back of like lily across her entire back. There was lilies, and it was just like immense. And she actually ended up having to work in the tattoo parlor where she had that done in order to pay for it because it was so expensive and she was very young. Um, but yeah, and she drove a Nissan Micra, and that's actually a sign for her, for me, is if I see a Nissan Micra, I think I remember her and I think of her, right? And it's getting really ridiculous with this sign because now I'm driving around and like you could go months without seeing a single one, right? But now all of a sudden, like I drive 10 minutes and I see like five, and then then she's getting really like creative, and she's like putting like in my field I'm seeing a Nissan Micro which has like a cool bumper sticker about the afterlife and like things like this, and I was like, wow, Leah, would you just chill? And in the physical, she was vegan. And she was a vegan and in a time when it wasn't really that popular or trendy. She was definitely trailblazing and incredibly ahead of her time. And yeah, whilst I miss her physically here, obviously she is here and she's assisting me. So yes, that's Leah. I want to tell you a cool story as well about my grandfather in spirit. In fact, that's actually how I started to hear, how I realized that I had clairaudience is after my grandmother and my aunt passed within a month of each other. And I started to hear them in my head, like, well, right next to my ear here. I used to hear them coming through and speaking to me. And I would have whole conversations. And I didn't really know what to make of this at the time. I was a bit like, well, it seems real. And like I'm having really great conversations, but like I don't know what's happening. So I had a call with a medium here. This was in the pandemic, and so it was on WhatsApp, but WhatsApp video. And the first thing that came through from her, she was like, "Yes, your grandfather's here." And she said, and he says to me, "It's not your imagination, you're really hearing this." That was the beginning. I'm sorry, I probably have told this story before and into the blue, but it bears repeating. But what I wanted to talk about is about actually that grandfather, because I have a grandfather who's on my spirit team, who I actually never knew in my lifetime here. It's my dad's dad, and he actually passed when my dad was 18, so decades before I was born. And it was really cool actually because it came through in that reading, and I had no perceivable connection or relationship with him, but now I do. And I think it's just it helps to explain just how like it's beyond the physical and it's beyond what humans have been taught to believe is true or possible. Because my grandfather in spirit, he's been there through my whole lifetime from when I was born. He's been supporting me as part of my spirit team. um, and yeah, it's a whole thing and we could go into it more. But he came through in that first mediumship conversation, and and he told me that he'd been there, and it was just like so beautiful. And he was telling me all about what he did in World War II, and he was showing me this volcano that he saw in Sri Lanka. He was posted into Asia. Both of my grandparents, actually, both my granddads in this lifetime were posted to Asia in World War II. One into Singapore and one to Sri Lanka. Don't know why. But yeah, and it's been great to build that bond. And actually, now I know, and obviously through my own Akashic Records exploration and speaking with him direct, that just how present he is to me in this lifetime, despite the fact that I never knew him. And in fact, my dad never really mentioned him because I think he was traumatized by the passing so young. Actually, it's a bit of a theme between Leah and my granddad, whose name is Frederick, by the way. Um, where am I going with this? I just want you to know that you might have loved ones in spirit and members of your spirit team that you actually have not yet met in this lifetime, but that you go way back and you know each other across many, many lifetimes. Because actually, I am more connected to my grandfather Frederick across lifetimes than I am to actually my parents in this lifetime. That's just how things work, right? Um, but your loved ones, they want you to know that they're still around. And it's hard to like, particularly if your abilities, everyone has psychic abilities, by the way. It's not just me. You can build and grow your psychic abilities. And a big part of it is just being open and receptive and being like, oh, like, could this be? And just allow yourself to be like, yeah, this is possible. And then you can ask to be given more, right? And they will feed upon that because you have free will, you can push it away and be like, oh, too scary, or oh, I don't know if I believe this. But your free will can also attract attention and bring them close to you and how allow them to help you more, right? Um, but they're really not so far away. It's a dimensional thing. Like, I can have spirits right next to me here, right? And I mean, I can see them, but not everyone can. I understand that. But they're so close. It's like literally like people talk about the veil or whatever, whatever you want, the ethers or however you want to describe it. But it's like paper thin. It's thinner than paper. It's like what's that called? The really thin paper, like that thin. like so thin that you could just like put your finger right through it. That's how close they are. And you're not bothering them. Okay. A lot of people are like this. They're like, oh, I don't want to trouble them. I don't want to bother them. Just know that, where they are on the other side, on the spirit side, time doesn't actually exist. They can be 1,000 places at once because time and space, the laws of physics as we know them, don't actually apply at all. Which is why you can ask them for information about the future and they can help you, with future events because they already know because they've already been in the future, right? Do you get me? And how, if a loved one passed and they have 4 children in 4 different places around the world, they can be there supporting their 4 children all at the same time to the same extent, and it's totally fine and it's not even an issue. It's not an issue at all for them. So I don't, so just if you have that limiting belief that you might be bothering them or you don't want to bother them with like trivial matters or whatever it is, just know you can stop. Officially stop. And if like, you're finding it hard, particularly if it's a fresh grief. I help a lot of people with grief with my Reiki sessions actually. And I know that grief can be so all-encompassing. And what grief can also do is it can block that connection. Because if you're so in grief, you just can't pick up that they might be trying to reach you, and you're so in the dense fog of grief that it's kind of that fog is kind of impenetrable, right? So just know that once that eases a bit, and I can assist you with that easing if you feel like you need it, absolutely feel free to book a session. But once you pass through that point, then you can start to pull them in closer. And something that Spirit has said to me again and again is to move, to get through grief, you have to move into nostalgia. And so it's into nostalgic thoughts of positive memories. Again, pushing aside that storyline of how they passed or why they passed or things like that, and rather see if you can tap in and connect into happy memories that you guys shared. Yeah, because the more you can connect with happy memories, the easier the connection becomes. And that's really like, yeah, one of my biggest tips that I can give you. Um, but if you're struggling with this, I don't actively advertise myself as like a psychic medium, a medium to connect to loved ones. And that's for a reason because it is a small aspect of a greater whole of what I do. But I do that. And when I give Akashic Records readings, time and again, it's loved ones that want to come in and be like, hi, and they want to convey messages. And I've had some great experiences with people's loved ones come through and have it be really healing, really amazing. I did a Akashic Records reading with someone who'd just run the New York Marathon. And her mother in spirit came in and she was just like, she took me to see this the moment where this woman was running across the bridge and how she was there supporting her. And she was showing me like that she was connecting into the energy and she was supporting her and this and the lady on the call was crying and she was like, oh my God, like I knew I like it was a really tough moment and I just found this inner strength just coming out of nowhere to keep going. And it was just like, yes, your mother is saying that's her doing that, right? Like how amazing is that of an insight? Like I love the work that I do. Also, it doesn't have to be a human, right? I have done readings where loved ones in spirit can be pets. In fact, there's a cat called Sasha. I'm sure the owner will mind me saying. But I've had, I think, 3 sessions for different people where Sasha has come in and he's a cat and he jumps on the table and he paces back and forth and he like the messages that he brings forth are incredible. And he was telling someone that they'd had past lives together as both as lions, and that and Sasha had always vibed listening to Bob Marley, particularly the song "Lion, Lion, Zion," and that was the reason why. I mean, how cool is that? Anyway, I digress. So, yes, so loved ones and spirits and spirit guides. We could have another session talking about spirit guides, but they're all members of your team. And an easy way to connect to them, and particularly if you don't know who to connect to, you're just like, oh, I don't know. I suggest you can just set an intention to please, I would like to speak to my loved ones in spirit and spirit guides, and then say all at the highest frequency and for my highest good, right? And that kind of clears, any potential. I mean, every guide and one spirit, there's something important there, right? But there's some that's going to be most helpful to you. So by saying, kind of like vibing at the highest frequencies and forming highest good, just really kind of helps to pinpoint who will come through and assist. So yeah. But yeah, Leah says hi, Frederick says hi, Sasha says hi. And if this is interesting to you and you would like to book a session, my bookings calendar is wide open and I would love to hear from you. I love doing this work. Akashic Records Readings is my favorite thing to do. So please do reach out. But I hope this is useful. Also, for future coffee chat topics, feel free to put in the comments if there's particular things you'd like me to talk about. I have some ideas, like one being manifestation and my manifestation outgoings, shall I say? Another, I want to do one on ghost stories about basically earthbound spirits that I've seen in the physical. There's so many topics, so many topics. But if there's anything in particular that you're like, oh, I'd love for her to speak on this, just drop it into the comments and I'll review it. But take care, guys. All the very best to you. Bye. Thank you for listening to Into the Blue channeling. Please do like and subscribe to receive about our upcoming episodes. See you next time.